What's up, everybody? Yes, as you can tell, Trey Griggs is not here. He is MIA. So it is me, Coleman Ruffin, stepping in for this week's episode of Word on the Street, number 178, showcasing really everything that's going on in the transportation industry. And we've got a great show for you today. And just as a reminder, again, Trey and our normal podcast producer are out traveling at the Broker Carrier Summit. So it is myself and our communications director holding down the fort. So like I said, it's going to either be a great show or probably one of the worst that's there. Either way, you're going to want to tune in. So in order to get everything started off with just a couple of announcements, the trade show season is finally coming near towards an end, but there's still a couple left that are going on out there. We just wrapped up TMSA, which I've heard was a phenomenal conference. Broker Carrier Summit, like I said, is still going on and wrapping up today out in Tampa, Florida. And then we've got a couple of other shows coming up. But first, for the Broker Carrier Summit, in case you missed it, we had both of our team members attending show up with ridiculous shirts and having to travel with them. So we've got some funny content that's coming up. And so be on the lookout on our socials here for that. The next show coming up, TIA Technovations out in San Diego, taking place October 18th through the 20th. Going to be a phenomenal show. And then we've also got Women in Trucking that's going to be taking place in Dallas, November 6th and 7th. What's cool about that show that they actually have a virtual portion if you can't make it in Dallas, and they've got the in-person portion as well. Finally, another fun thing that we've got going on is Wreaths Across America that's taking place December 16th, which our team is actually traveling to in St. Louis and going to be taking a part of. So there's a ton of fun stuff that's still going on. If you've missed any of the other conferences, it's not too late to still attend some of the other ones, but still a ton of fun stuff going on. So we have a tight-knit street crew with us today, but it's time to go ahead and start bringing them in. And first, I want to welcome to the show Scott Watanabe. Scott, how we doing, man?
Yeah. What's going on, man?
I mean, we got to do the song. I mean,
we could. Let's do it.
What is that?
20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain,
100% reason to remember the name.
Scott, how we doing, my friend?
Good. I'm good. Had a good week. Busy. Yeah, getting prepped for next week. Got a couple new hires in a couple different locations, and then I'm bringing out my Chicago guy here to Boise so we can get a lay of the land and then go over some intermodal training. So it's awesome. Trying to expand.
And I think I saw on LinkedIn you're looking for another team member to add to your team. Is that correct?
So our Chicago, our Charlotte office in corporate, our operations. Our brokerage operations, we're trying to grow, and so we're trying to get a trainer, a full-time trainer there in-house as well. So,
nice.
Send your look at my LinkedIn. I think I posted the application link, so come on over.
Go. And I was going to say, I loved my learning and development days working in the brokerage space, and working with you would be a huge fun and exciting time. So anybody that's watching this, I would definitely highly recommend at least checking that out.
Come on now.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we've got another member of the street crew waiting in the green room, and I'm going to butcher the last name, even though before the show we went over it a couple of times. But welcome to the stage, Mitch Kowalewski. Did I say it right?
You got it, man. You got it.
Kowalewski.
Perfect.
I love it. We got to at least wait for the drop.
I told him to go with Mitch Key.
Scott adds corporate recruiter to his LinkedIn profile. That was unbelievable, Scott. That was cool, man. Corporate recruiter. That was good. He's got the job filling postings. He's doing the corporate training. I like that, man. That's awesome.
Exactly. Somebody's got to be doing it, right? And he's got to promote to work on his team. But Mitch, how are you doing today on this Friday?
Awesome, guys. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I know it's crazy. There's been so many conferences within the last 10 days. Unfortunately, they're all on top of each other, right? So it's hard for us all to kind of gather. You mentioned TMSA this week. Obviously, Broker Carrier in Florida. Heard that's rocking, which is good. I was at DATCon, which was in Houston this week, which was a great event. A lot of faces showed up for that one, so a lot going on. The Global Produce and Flower Show is in Anaheim, California, which is the biggest trade show I attend every single year. It is massive. It's every piece of produce all over the world, every grower, every shipper. Oh my goodness, every farm. I was so excited. I just moved that thing, right? But That's a big show for us. The R2X crew and our produce teams will be there, boots on the ground for that as well.
I love it. Yeah, produce.
Cool. I didn't realize Carrier Sure had a freight freight.
Chicago. That was another one.
Yeah, that was in Chicago. I saw that this morning. I was like, oh man, that was
the first year of that too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I feel like there's been a lot of first-time shows that have happened this year, and again, it's just going to add to the whole agenda for over the years that are coming. So it's going to be hard to have to pick and choose, I guess, as these things continue to grow.
Yeah, you mentioned freight fraud. That was probably the primary takeaway topic from DatCon this week, right? Absolutely, the key focus is cybersecurity, specific to the 3PL relationships, the load boards, load postings, booking carriers. It is on everybody's fingertips and mind for sure.
Oh yeah, in cybersecurity, that's actually something that we are going to talk about here in the next segment called "What's the Word," which is shout out to our sponsor, Isometric Technologies, which is the ultimate freight broker's secret weapon. With Isometric, you'll have access to industry-wide performance benchmarks, dynamic scorecards, and powerful analytics to gain insights into your service strengths, address your weaknesses, and differentiate your carrier network from the competition. Make sure if you want to learn more to get started, visit iso.io today. So this is the part of the show that we do weekly, obviously, and talk about what is going on in the industry. And you or us three were talking a little bit beforehand. I would be remiss if we did not at least touch on the tragedies that are happening overseas, specifically within Israel. And me being somebody as an ignorant American, I feel terrible to say that I don't know too much of what's going on there. And again, I just felt like we at least had to touch on it based on, the casualties that are happening. I can't imagine going to a music festival, being at home and this stuff happening. So, I wanted to pose the question to both of you, just your overall thoughts, immediate impacts that you see that's going on out there. And obviously this is something that's been extending years, right? Is this ever going to end?
I think we know. Well, here, let me rephrase it. I don't think we know a lot of things, but we know some of the facts. Some of the facts are what are the impacts to the U.S., right? And those are immediate on the fuel prices. Yeah, obviously, since Saturday, fuel's gone up about 4%, predicted to rise another 6% to the consumer. So that's a really big deal. So we'll feel that impact immediately. But obviously there's an emotional impact, and that's something that is way, way bigger than any fuel price or any short-term ripple from this, right? And then that's the human impact. I was in both McAllen Airport and Houston Airport yesterday, and there was a wave of immigrants coming into both of those, even the smallest McAllen Airport, which tells me they're coming everywhere. They're coming in as quickly as they can to meet with friends and family and just have safe positions. So again, you can see things on the headlines, you can read things, but to see little children and families, which is literally a book bag or two, is probably all the possessions that they have as they try to just kind of get refocused here. So that's eye-opening to me, for sure. Right. That was something that I was thinking about, on the plane ride back, and it's a big deal. So that is number one is, what can we do in supporting of all of that? But what is the outcome going to be past that? I don't know if we know. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah,
it's going to test our leaders. It's going to test everybody's overall awareness of what's going on in the world, because Israel has been a long time what do you call it? Friend. What's the word? I can't think of the word. Ally.
There we go. I got you.
Not just a little bit, like
years,
hundreds of years, and so it's tough, especially with what's coming up on the what's coming up next year, an election. So what are we going to do? There's a lot of leaders that are going to, a lot of decisions the leadership is going to have to make, not just based off of what they have coming up, but what is going to help mankind and worldwide, peace.
I think so too. I think for big companies, big corporations, it's supply chain planning season now. It's RFP season now. It's procurement to see what the setup for, the 1st of January looks like, to really kind of get going. As people in the freight industry, all three of us, we hope and pray every single day that it gets better as a marketplace. I think, we're tired. We're exhausted from just waiting for freight to fall out of the sky. We all need freight, to keep life better, every single one of us. And at the end of the day, I think, all right, it's Q4. We just got to weather the storm a little bit more. We know it's going to be an absolute desert of a Q1, and things are going to start popping back in Q2, right? So that's what we all think. But this then just throws an absolute wrench in it. It also throws a wrench in people that are looking for jobs, right? Our corporation is going to wait to maybe see what's happening on this, right? To maybe before they make bigger moves. So it's going to be a continuation for sure.
Yeah, and again, from the limited amount of research that I was able to do, one of the scariest things, at least for me, in terms of this specific conflict, is that there's no clear answer, right? Like everybody is saying that there are so many different layers to this whole thing that's going on. When is it actually going to end? Is it ever going to end? And again, I don't want this to keep adding on to everything that's going on that's out there. So again, it's something that I feel like we at least had to touch on. Again, it's something that's affecting the world. So again, thoughts and prayers to everybody that's going through that stuff. But we can. Oh, go ahead. Oh yeah. No, yeah, right there with you. But bringing it back a little bit closer to home and some other things that we have been seeing going on in the industry. One of the big topics that we had last week was what's going on with TQL. So for those that don't know, TQL was involved in a lawsuit that is for misqualifying their employees. And again, now responsible to owe millions and millions of dollars into this specific lawsuit. And one of the things that they did in responding to the public is that they said that TIA was part of the reason that they qualified their employees as such. Now, Ann Rinke, the president of TIA, did have a response to that in summation that really said that TIA is not a legal advisor, right? They provide guidance at a high level to help support their members. So we will go ahead and drop a note actually about what that full quote is, but she is basically saying, hey, we are here to help guide. We are by no means the lay of the law. And we actually had a special episode of Word on the Street After Hours where Chris Fields of Zell Logistics, which is a remote staffing solutions firm, joined us. And we just had an open-ended dialogue really about what that means for the industry. And there's certain things that he brought up that I again, want to get both of your opinions on is, hey, is this going to open up the door for future lawsuits to some of these smaller brokerages that might not have hundreds of millions of dollars to then pay off, and they're just going to shut doors? Is this going to change how a lot of these companies are staffing their employees, whether they go to not having full-time W-4 employees and just agents or solely outsourcing things overseas? How do you guys think that this is going to shake up the market and brokerage industry as a whole?
Well, I think everybody got freaked out. Right? Everybody got freaked out from this, for sure. If you're a 3PL, it behooved you last week not to connect with your legal counsel and just do a double check behind the scenes. And I think lots of them did, right? This went from the lawyers being maybe on retainer to being on the payroll a little bit deeper going forward on this as well. There's certain positions in logistics that we know that are never ending. AR, AP, things that just won't the job will never end. And you have to put an hourly position based on some of those to have a start to finish, right? To be able to compromise on some of those things. And so I think it's the review, a complete wash of the system of what job positions are, what the titles are, and those expectations against what the legal ramification can be with not being compliant. But it was a wake-up call. That's what this was for everybody else. It was a get out of jail free card quick to some other folks that need to maybe realign and make sure that they're doing the right thing for their people. But certain states, we talked about this last week, right? As a team too. California is a more sensitive state than some others, but it doesn't matter. We have a responsibility to do. People do work; they got to get paid for it, right? That's pretty common sense. Step one, but step two, it's a guidance to make sure that the rest of us are doing the right thing and legally have it protected to the 3PL.
I mean, I think it helps also the employee as well. It's like this opened up to let them go back, understand their contracts, understand what they're doing, what their role is, how they're classified as well. Idaho has some pretty black and white laws in regards to our classification. So that's something that we don't have to worry about, but we also have Chicago and we also have Charlotte. And so like our teams have to identify each and every rule and statute of each one of those states, not just focus on Boise like we had to in the past.
Yeah. And I remember when I was running the new hire department in Chicago Central for CH Robinson. And I know that CH Robinson in the news has had a couple of these misclassification things, but I remember when this whole thing started to come out in running that new hire department, we were like, okay, we are going to make sure that we are staying on top of when you are getting here, when you're clocking in, making sure you're taking your lunch. And realistically, as a new hire, you shouldn't be working overtime as is. So it's like we were making sure that you're done at that same exact point. So it's interesting to see how these different companies have handled something like that, right? Again, we were still going through what are people exactly qualified as, and we were just trying to prep for the worst and say, okay, we want to make sure that we are covered in that instance. But again, like Chris said, I'm very curious to see if there are some other smaller brokerages that, this lawsuit gets slapped with, and then what's that going to do to the market again? It's going to add additional people to the market that are again looking for jobs. And what he brought up that I thought was super interesting is the agent model. Like, is this a quote unquote loophole around this whole thing? Like, is there going to be a lot more people that are in that agent model? Is that even attractive for people? It's something that I'm curious to see how it affects everything moving forward. Oh, Jennifer, join the show. Oh, can't make it on a holiday. Yes, you were just at TMSA. We cannot wait to see how it turns out, or how it turned out, and when you let us know, hopefully when you get back here next week. But happy Friday.
We miss you, Jen. Well. Either way.
Yeah, we miss you, Jen. So continuing on with other news that we have seen here, within our industry. So there's a couple more companies that had layoffs. So I don't know if you all I saw some more posts on LinkedIn. Flexport went through some more layoffs. There's some more layoffs that happened over at BNSF, with some of their assets actually being sold off to JB Hunt. More companies that had closed. So this was a couple weeks ago at this point, but the largest bulk carrier in Indiana shut its doors. This week, a Montana trucking company and brokerage actually just shut its doors. Yeah, exactly. With 275 drivers to it. I'm curious to see, what you all think from what's really going on in our industry, but I'm also curious to see what you think the effects are, because one of the things that I have thought is, with so many drivers being flooded, so many assets that are flooded into the market, so many assets that are out there being sold, are we just going to see a huge consolidation of companies where it's, hey, you want to move some goods out there, you have the 1 to 5 truck companies, but then you just have 3 massive asset-based carriers. What do you guys think?
I hope not, first of all.
Yeah, I hope not. Knock on wood, right?
They already controlled too much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is, man, numbers get really, really diluted in things like this. So there's 2 different categories. So there's the 3PL, or the freight forwarding companies, and then there's the asset trucking companies, right? And they're all kind of blended into the same topic a little bit, because they're all happening all at once. So from our position, the industry will not get better until there's more trucking companies exit with that capacity into that marketplace. So this is kind of this natural cyclical piece from the asset trucking companies. This should have happened in Q3. It didn't. It's happening right now. So it's happening later, which is why we're rebounding as an industry later. Until those numbers go down of equipment exiting the industry, we will not see the balance come back to normal. Now, the layoffs, and again, each one of those pockets are a little bit different. BNSF Logistics obviously was absorbed by JB Hunt maybe a month ago or so, but that makes sense that there's some mundane positions. You don't need 2 CFOs. You don't need 2, VPs of sales and marketing into those positions. So some of those are affected because of that. JB Hunt Logistics and JB Hunt and BNSF Logistics corporate, they're literally 1 freeway exit away from each other in Arkansas, right? So their facilities are just right down the street. So a lot of that is consolidation from that. And there's some key people that unfortunately did lose their jobs on that, that I did see on LinkedIn and some other spots that are superstar people. I saw some pricing yield people that we've scooped up really, really quick right now, and some other folks, I hope, right? And so with that, Flexport, man, that's a whole different animal. Like, that's a unicorn situation. That it was a very, very massive corporation that was built to take down Amazon, right? And it had some momentum, and it had some things, and it's a very, very expensive operation. It's crazy to me when you cut 10%, 20%, and it's only, but the thousands of people. So how big is that company? It's wild. But obviously that's the rebuild of the old CEO coming back and just saying, I got to get it back to the basics, if there's any survival left of this company, to our shareholders. So that's interesting. I think the industry on that, not big opinion, but I think the industry is really taken back on that, and to see what will happen on that. But the other ones, the trucking companies, when we do read, the out income is these guys, their fuel cards are shut off. being told to drive their trucks to the nearest Ryder or Penske dealership. Like, I can't fathom that situation, right? So that's what's really frustrating when I see those articles, and we're seeing a lot of them, but that is natural. Obviously, news media picks them up more and more and more as we have more access to social media and short-term things. But this is part of
it's a natural part of the cycle.
Must come down,
up and the down. We're in the down part of it, and so we're just waiting for that up. It just might be delayed a little bit due to COVID and due to just the lack of, ports being shut down or just boats and stuff not being shipped over from China and just from the other other countries. That's just, there's nothing to ship.
Just like there, back, not to, the southern Texas border, there was supposed to be a massive produce swing that was supposed to happen, right? And in the beginning of October, and these trucking companies built their year onto this Mexico produce swing. There was this drought in Mexico. It's had absolute chaos. And these guys cannot survive truck payments and employee payments and payroll and all these things when the freight that even they were expected can't move. And so it's never ending. And if it's not a drought in Mexico, it's fuel prices because of civil unrest and other things. And it's a bad time to be a trucker right now, for sure.
Yeah. And all three of us being in LinkedIn user, we can't see who you are, but yes.
Anonymous.
Yeah, I was going to say anonymous. Thank you for at least going to Broker Carrier Summit and then obviously attending here. But all three of us having a decent amount of tenure, I'd say, obviously probably you both a little bit more than myself, but in the broker and transportation space, right? This is part of the cycle, right? But me being a little bit more outside looking in now, I feel like it's way worse than anything that I had ever experienced. Is it just me? Yeah, exactly. Am I just like aware of like all the articles?
Because it feels worse because COVID was the beginning, and then that subject is tied into this, and there's just unlimited frustration from that, and then it carried over into this. Right? This is 2007, 2008 for me. This is 2014 for me. This is a very I'm not standard, but this. Yeah, this is going to happen again, but hopefully there's good years in between, right? So that's all we can hope for.
Yeah, that's what we've got our fingers crossed for, is that the next couple of years
there is a light. We're just waiting for it to get brighter.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit longer this time around.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah, for sure. So very curious to see, obviously, how things continue and cycle, and hopefully, again, we're getting close.
I've been telling my newer reps, and some of even the ones that are stuck. They've made some good waves, but all the ones that we've hired since 2020, they've never seen the down cycle like some of us vets have, and so they're frustrated because it's hard. But we had our new CEO in here once, and he sat down with the training class at that time, and one of the things that always stuck out to me is, like, he said, it's the worst time to be starting, but it's also the best time, because if you can just land some kind of opportunity during this hard time, wait till it gets easy, because then you're just waiting for the floodgates to open, and all these opportunities are just going to start coming and coming. We're seeing it. We're definitely seeing it. We're still bringing on clients. We're still bringing on customers. It's just not as quick as it has been. So it's these little victories that we just got to celebrate. And maybe we do have to extend our KPIs a little bit, because we understand where the market's at. So.
I think it's challenging. The shippers have it right now. The shit's going good. It's balancing back a little bit, and freight's still moving, guys. You look out your window. There's trucks on the road.
Yeah, there's trucks on the road.
It's someone's moving it, right? So it just takes more creativity. It just takes what worked last year, probably on an approach from a sales approach, is probably not going to be the same deal. Always need to be modified, right? I don't think and everybody has their own unique approach and how to be successful in that. But overall, freight is moving. And I think, I think the expectation from a partner between the shipper and the provider, just the expectations more to have value in that relationship overall.
100% agree. I mean, that's one of the glorious things about this industry, right? Is like stuff always needs to get places. So there's always going to be business that's out there. And Scott, to your point, I also think that yes, it's quote unquote hard to enter in the market right now, but it's also a good thing to experience, right? If you come into a freight market and it's oh my gosh, every call that I make or every client that I reach out to signs up. Yeah, exactly. It's like you're like, okay, and both sides of the coin here, and it also just helps make you more of a well-rounded professional, I would say, in the space.
Yeah, I tell people, telling you guys, if they're giving you an opportunity on the first call, guess what? They're giving the next broker an opportunity on the first call too, right? So it's just like, be weary on that what kind of client that's going to be.
It comes down to relationships right now, right?
100% relationships
are what's moving freight. The trust that's already been established, that warmness of the new relationships already over with, and that's what's moving freight right now.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that too, because I feel like there has been so much technology injected into the space as of late. And I feel like a lot of companies are trying to push down the human relationship aspect of the business, where yes, technology is obviously extremely necessary and it helps enhance the process. But these people to people connections in the end, from my experience, again, is what's really going to help make sure that you're staying sticky with a lot of those clients that are out there.
No doubt. People, process, technology, those three, right?
Yep, exactly. Now, speaking of technology, and Mitch, you actually brought this up a little bit earlier in the show in terms of cybersecurity. So I don't know if you all caught this, but Estes, so obviously one of the largest LTL carriers that is out there, experienced an outage in their core IT infrastructure, which impacted a number of their systems due to a cyber attack. Now, immediately when I saw this, I thought back to a clip that I saw in the news. This is several years ago at this point, but it was a Jeep Cherokee that came out, and somebody could actually hack into that Jeep and control it from a remote spot. And it got me thinking. I'm like, this has to be top of mind for all of the companies that are out there, especially these tech companies. But then it also got me thinking a little bit more about what happens when fully electric trucks and the autonomous trucks that are going on out there, is this a threat that could potentially happen? So what are your thoughts about, what's going on in cybersecurity? Is hopefully that's top of mind for a lot of the companies that you've been talking about.
It always is. I feel like we just updated some of our firewall stuff. We updated because being a former agent office, and then going into the getting acquired by corporate, we started, there's 15 of us in a back office, working on a civilian internet. And so we didn't even think about cybersecurity. And so we did a whole revamp. We had everybody work from home for 3 days, and we had to do a whole enterprise system of our network because we're going to keep growing and avoid that, or to avoid cybersecurity. So it's definitely something that everybody has to. It's funny. You say someone hacked into a Jeep.
Yeah.
I remember someone brought in their Google Chrome, like their little home, their Google Home.
Oh, like the mini one, almost like the Alexa or whatever.
Yeah, it was like sitting behind their desk, and they didn't put up any settings. And so I hacked into it, and I randomly just played some random music really loud, and then the floor manager was just like, "What are you doing? Why no one wants to?" And it was just up and down. It was funny. You got to adjust your settings, guys.
Yeah. Cybersecurity is a big deal. I read an article that cybersecurity threats go up when the economies are bad, right? Obviously, and there is a correlation to that, of some desperation of some other things. But we see this happen with LTL carriers because they have a footprint of a lot of facilities, and they're a national deal. Estes is a massive corporation, so this is not like, I think this happens, and we've seen this happen more in the last couple of years, but it was happening to other LTL carriers and over and over and over again. And I'm not sure overall what that is, but I think they have a responsibility. We have a responsibility. You got to keep servers off site. You got to do those right things, but it goes well beyond that, right? It goes by employee training, phishing emails, things like that. Most of these hacks are just the way they go in are crazy. That Las Vegas hack was an employee that someone pretended to be at a call center, and cost, I don't know how many, millions of dollars, right, to some of the biggest gaming companies in the world. So these are not, it goes back down to employees. It goes back down to some other things, but data is a really, really sensitive deal. It is the most valuable deal we can have over oil. And it's valuable. We see that 23andMe selling those profiles on the black market, right, from the last 15 years, which is insane. It's a violation, right? And then so at the end of the day, data sensitivity. We at R2X on our side go above and beyond to protect our data, our customers' data. Sometimes as the employee, that gets frustrating because there's so many just to get to left to right, but that there's reasons for that, right? Fake profiles and load postings and double brokering have massive consequences to liabilities for companies and other pieces. So this is only going to get more and more of a focal point. I think it has been a focal point, just never really a priority for some, but it's going to increase costs. It's going to make costs more expensive, right? it's gonna make some big changes happen. To electronic trucks, no idea. I got to see a couple more of them. Figure out if we can into them.
I want to see the video on that.
Yeah, but yeah, let me
try it. I'm gonna see.
Move them.
I know some people.
Yeah, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, big important topics, and should be a priority for everybody.
Yeah. And I guess that they need to solve the autonomous truck problem first before they need to worry about if people can actually hack into it. But again, it was one of those things that as I was reading through this article, it immediately hit me. I'm like, man, just thinking, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, how that's going to have an effect. And that's also the thing with cybersecurity is I feel like it is a consistently evolving area. It's not like you can just have somebody that comes in and says, oh, here, I solved for this problem. You're safe forever, right? Like it's continually evolving.
Scott, do you block the camera on your laptop?
Do I?
Yeah.
No.
See,
I've been in the military for so long. If they want to see me, they want to see me. You know what I'm saying? It's whatever. I'm a free spirit,
Get it?
I have rings in my house that, at least I know have my Wi-Fi all locked in. So, but I have a little switch. I've never used it before. But,
I was going to say, I'm the exact same way. I don't block my camera. I'm like, if you really want to see what's going on in my office at any given time, have fun with it. But I actually did just see another video, which I'll send you after, Scott, and maybe this will make you think twice about some of your Ring cameras. But it was literally a guy hanging out in his kitchen, and somebody hacks into his Ring camera, and he starts saying, hey, a guy opens up the fridge, like, what snack you eat? What are you getting? He's like looking around what's going on. But it's just always in the back of my mind after I see some of that stuff, and I'm a scary
Scott. It's probably Scott.
It is me. No.
Yeah.
I hope not, because this morning because I have it goes into that shows my walkway and then into my living room, so I get to see when my boys are up to no good. But my wife came out of the shower and grabbed some clothes in the laundry this morning. So I sent her the clip. I was just like, hey, looking good. Now there's a link out there in the internet. So you guys can believe that.
Cybersecurity, right? Always got to be thinking about it. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and continue on. Yeah, and that was What's the Word segment, again, sponsored by Isometric Technologies. There is a new segment that I want to try, and I think it's important for us to discuss some of the stuff. And I would love to give both of you the opportunities to share if you would like, but it's called Triumph and Tribulation Stories. So spooky tales of being a broker. Now, this is something that I used to do with all the new hire training classes that I would go through. And Scott, feel free to take it if you would like. But it's bringing in people that are experienced brokers, experienced in the transportation space, and sharing stories of when things either went horribly wrong or when things went, amazingly right. And again, giving them the experience and kind of having fun with it. So I have a story that went absolutely horribly wrong. But again, it was a good experience overall. But I want to give you both the opportunities. Is there anything that you can think of, like crazy stories where like, man, this is a good thing for people out there to hear and understand? And if not, again, I can take the reins.
I got a couple, but I should have discussed with maybe my VP if these are ones that I lost it. I didn't lose it. Someone from the team lost a truckload of crab. So that's always fun going through that experience. But it was, like I said, those are the early days, and we've built SOPs to avoid all that. We've also had a truck catch fire. Now this is an important lesson to understand what's in the trailer. We had a truck catch fire. All of our information showed it was a truckload of potatoes. We're like, hey, sweet potatoes, and commercial invoice came back for the claim. Luckily, those are easy, quick ones. It was a load of fresh beef, so complete different item. So that was fun. I still make fun of him, or we still kind of poke at him, and we just like, hey man, is it beef or potatoes? He's still, but again, all lessons learned, this helps us from the early process. So
I think that's important to highlight too, is like, you will have these moments. Everybody has these moments that happen. And again, it's a learning experience.
If it's when, right?
Yeah, exactly. And going off of that, and this isn't the full story, I can get into a real long one as well. But when I was a fresh out of training, and I got my first shipment, and I was working with a pistachio company. I'm like, oh great, this is perfect. Got a hot load on a Friday. The driver ended up breaking down on the way there. But again, I I go through the system, typical cargo insurance at that time. Again, I'm sure it's still roughly the same as $100,000. I quick key through. I'm like, it's a load of pistachios. What's really going to happen? Key through, the driver ends up breaking down on the way to pick up the shipment. Trying to find a reload, couldn't get another driver in there. I'm talking with the customer, and I ended up asking them, hey, just to make sure I have all of my documentation correct, what's the replacement value of this, or the cargo value of this? And they said it was upwards of $450,000. So I'm like, oh my goodness, if that driver would have made it there, and then obviously the truck, he stole it or it ended up going up in flames, your boy would have been out of a job probably pretty quick right out of training.
Well, I have so many. This would be a 40 hour, 4-part episode, I think, right? But I think all of my experience was and positive experience was tied into learning the hardware issues, right? So having key checks stolen by drivers that I thought I was able to trust, turns out they're at the casino gambling the fuel money, and little things. You learn the hard way across the board, and everything you can do. You mentioned that the high cargo value. I had something like that happen. It was a load of TVs, but then I also learned from legal, go back and ask for manufacturer costs, not retail costs on things. It's just everything becomes a learning lesson, right? Yep. I mean, across the board, but there's no left or right way. You just got to experience it and get in the war room and just get dirty, right? And I think being confident in the tools that you have to protect you and the SOPs that Scott mentioned before, the SOPs, that's Bible, right? And making sure you protect yourself and company.
100%. And the immediate story that I think of, and I used to tell this story, and I can tell this story probably over the course of 45 minutes, but I will try and make it a lot more quick and concise. But again, pretty quick after new hire training, I had a family friend who was a entrepreneur professor at a college or university, and he reached out to me one day. He's like, hey, you're in transportation, right? I'm like, yep. And he's like, there's a person here that came to me and is looking to get this business off the ground. And what it was actually souvenir cups for all the major league sports stadiums throughout the United States. So this person actually had contracts signed by the NBA, signed by the MLB, was in talks with the NFL. And it was these souvenir cups that it was blank, and then as soon as cold liquid hit it, the face of any type of player that you wanted to obviously print on there would show up. And I'm like, this is amazing. And again, me as a new hire, or like just coming out of training, I was like, oh man, this could be the big ticket, right? So I immediately talk to our sales manager, my mentor at the time, and then we started bringing in multiple parties throughout the organization, and we were just like, okay, how do we help this person set up the supply chain? So we were getting ready to fly overseas to look at manufacturing plants. We already brought in probably 10 to 15 resources internally and set up this whole supply chain for this person.
Yep.
And as we start getting to obviously the end of the deal and, really starting to actually move things, we were probably a couple months from going live and actually starting to, put in a prototype and everything like that. This person just started not showing up, right? And my family friend, he's like, I don't know where this person is. He's ghosted me. Like, he was just kind of in the dark as well. But we ended up finding out that this person had actually forged every single contract with all of these companies, forged bank statements saying that they had millions of dollars of funding. And again, all stuff that they kind of went through. And I was like, as soon as I remember getting this call at my desk, and at this point, I'm probably 3 months out of training, I'm like, getting fired. Like, it's done. Like, I wasted all these people's times, but everything obviously
true, right? If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
And that is a lesson that I definitely learned every single time. After that, I'm like, okay, got to make sure that I am crossing all my T's, dotting all the I's. But obviously ended up not working out. And then I actually got a call probably about a month later from the FBI. And I remember I had this voicemail on my phone because I missed the call, and this was this person asking me a whole bunch of questions like, what was your relationship with this person? Did you ever do any business? All of this stuff. And then found out that he actually got caught a couple months later and is now in jail. But again, it was one of those things where I was so scared. I was going to lose my job. I was riding the highest of highs, lowest of lows. But from like an experiential standpoint, right, getting to work with people that had different levels of experience from a global standpoint to a domestic, localized, transportation background, and really being able to put all of it together. It was one of the better experiences throughout my logistics career, even though it obviously didn't end up working out from like a monetary standpoint. But it's stories like that I absolutely love telling to people, again, because shit's going to happen in transportation. It always does, for lack of a better way to put it.
It's how you earn your grit, right? I mean, that's how you it's how you get your tenure in this industry as well. So experience comes with lessons, life lessons, positive and negative all the time. You know, the positive, you can learn from people a little bit stronger in their craft, and you can learn how to polish that up. But the negatives are you got to get punched in the face every once in a while to learn how to get punched in the face. So
yeah,
it's what it is.
I was going to say that's how you can tell a seasoned vet in this industry is the one that has gotten their teeth kicked in a bunch of times. And we were talking about it a little bit earlier with Scott, right? Somebody that's come in and just had that, the highest of highs. You got to experience a little bit of both to truly be, somebody that's been there and done that. Right. Scott said that he would be right back. We aren't going to wait for him for this next segment, but like right? And we might have a little head-to-head competition depending on how or when he gets back. But we always like to play a game here on Word on the Street. So this week, we've got actually a new game, and it is called Watts, W-O-T-S, the movie. So what we're going to do here in this game is that our producer is going to be putting up movie posters poorly drawn. Okay. And we have to guess what those movies are. And again, based off of this, I'm assuming it's going to be horror or scary movie themed, but we're going to find out. Now, with that being said, before we get started, are you a scary movie person? Do you like scary movies?
Before you even ask that, I have a public announcement. That is, if you're DraftKings betting this topic, do not bet on me on this one. Please, don't put any money on me guessing not only scary movies that the title that's correct. Forget them being messed up a little bit. So
okay, so then scary movies, no. But do you like
everybody that tuned in is about to tune right out right now?
Well, are you a movie guy then? Do you like movies at all? Or?
I mean, I'm on an airplane all the time, but it's probably whatever I can download on Netflix. I don't know, but I'm not. My passion is not on the news.
Yeah. Well, I like scary movies, so if I don't do well, I'm going to feel very ashamed. But Morgan, before we get started, I actually got into an internal debate here on our team. There's been most of our team has not seen either Christopher Nolan movie, The Dark Knight or Inception. Have you seen both of those?
I think I've seen Inception. I've never seen The Dark Knight.
Oh no! Okay. I'm trying to watch it.
I'm trying to find Freight. I don't know where Dark Knight is. Man.
Next airplane that you're on, download that movie and you have to watch it. It is on Netflix and it's actually leaving soon, so I highly recommend it. Let's go ahead and get started and let's see what we got here.
Oh man.
I got this one. I have this movie poster actually hanging up in my basement.
All right, why don't you start us off on this one?
This is Halloween. Yeah, it's got to be Halloween. I was going to say, if I get this one wrong, I just got to leave the stream now.
Jason. That's the Jason movie, right?
Jason? Yeah, I like that. Let's go with Jason. That looks like it could be it. The Thing. I don't know if I've ever... Isn't that a Stephen King movie? Maybe. I don't know if I've ever seen that one.
Man.
All right. 1-1 here.
Oh, we know that one, right?
Yeah. You please take.
Or no, I don't think this is Jaws. It's that other. It's the one where it's the super shark.
No, this has to be Jaws.
No,
right?
They have one. There's like a movie that came out a couple years ago where like the shark can just like swallow Manhattan, basically.
Oh, the Meg. That's a megalodon, right? Yeah. Is that what we're going with?
I don't know.
Hey, you know what? I trust your gut.
Well, that's your first mistake.
Let's go with the Meg.
Jaws, right.
We should have known.
All right.
Wow. I'm pretty sure. I don't know for sure, but I think that this is Cabin in the Woods, which it wasn't the scariest movie. It's kind of like a parody type of thing, but I'm going to run with Cabin in the Woods. Unless you have something that you're going to want to try and get in there.
Let's go Cabin in the Woods.
Let's go Cabin in the Woods. All right.
Perfect.
Let's go. I think we're doing all right so far.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know this one. This is a classic.
Yeah, that's
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I'm trying to blank of the name of it. The shower.
The Shining.
Of course.
The Shining. Yeah. This hotel is actually up in Estes Park, and we've gone there a couple times. Right. It is so cool to go and see.
That was good drawing.
Yeah.
All right.
I was going to say Jaws again, but no way. Oh.
Jurassic Park.
I was going to say, I don't know if this counts as a scary movie, but Tremors? You remember that movie?
Man, you're on it. I feel like you have some inside info on this one.
I might have had some inside info, or I just need to get a life and stop watching so many movies.
All right. This is the last scene of Titanic before it went down. That was scary.
The only thing that I can think of with this circle there is the ring, right? Like
ring. It's the ring.
The ring?
Man.
Dude.
Man.
We're ripping this.
That's not the porthole of the Titanic. All right.
This, I literally have no idea. I mean, if you were to guess what that drawing even looks like, it kind of looks like maybe a cave.
Looks like a cave.
There we go. So the only cave
in, or maybe running out. I think they're running in. Maybe.
Right. Is there a scary movie called The Cave, or maybe The Descent?
What do you think?
I'm gonna go The Descent. I don't know what else this could be.
Judges. What do you say?
Yeah.
The Blob.
Blob.
Yeah.
That one wasn't even close. Wow.
Okay. Whoa.
This one I do know. This is actually probably my favorite scary movie of all time. This is The Conjuring. If you haven't seen this, this is like an actually good movie that is scary, as opposed to just a crappy scary movie to entertain.
I add that one to my list. Oh, yeah. Scott's back.
Oh, Scott.
He's on mute. He had all of them probably.
Movie posters, poorly drawn.
Oh, Signs of the Lambs.
Well, that was an easy one. Scott comes in and just takes on the easy ones. That's not
no, he was just backstage waiting for the one that he for sure knew and then hopped back in.
Where were you in the game? Hold on, go back before Conjuring thing. Let me see.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see if Scott gets these. We can start real quick. We can just run
the ring. These. Is it the ring? No.
Blob.
The Blob.
We had no idea on this one too.
Wow. That's the ring.
That's the porthole from the Titanic, man.
Jaws.
Whoo.
That's good. That's a good one. Thanks, Morgan.
It's not, though.
It's not Jaws? No, that's Jaws. From Tremors. I love Tremors.
Isn't that Kevin Bacon, right?
Yeah. And Reba McEntire.
Yeah. What's this one, Scott? It's not
Tremors. This one is The Shining.
Yep.
There we go.
Cabin in the Woods, or
stacked up shipping container.
I was going to say,
that's
see
Jaws.
now,
that's Jaws.
Yeah, now we know Jaws
that's good,
for sure.
Okay, yeah, Tremors. I can see Tremors.
If you get this one, we didn't get this one either.
This is Flashdance. The Thing, interesting. Oh, Halloween. That's a good one.
That's what we
say. What did we call this? What did we call this game?
This is What's the Movie? WOTS, obviously for Word on the Street. But this is the
what is
edition.
The movie? But is it like children painting the album?
I don't know.
I was gonna say it was actually, I believe, our podcast director Natalia. So we can throw her shade for drawing these as a 4-year-old.
That's obvious.
Are there any more of these, Morgan? Oh, poorly drawn movie posters. There we go. Okay. Go ahead.
The Signs of the Lambs was the last one. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, you showed up at the perfect time, right?
Yeah, I would have whooped you guys.
Exactly. Well, so we are nearing the end of time. We probably will wrap a hair early, but we now, obviously, as we do every week, want to end the show with This Week in Pictures. Now, guess what? Apparently the street crew didn't do a whole lot this last week. So we have this week's odd news again, because since no one sent any pictures.
I gotta get on this. I gotta get out.
Yeah. So the first thing that we've got here is don't mess with this mama bear. So Alaska apparently every year has a bracket style contest to see who the fattest bear is that year. So they track anywhere from 130 to 140 different bears throughout the year. They vote on a top 8, and then they vote for at bracket style again, who is the fattest bear. And Grazer officially won this year.
How big?
They didn't say how big, which is the worst part. I was looking for so long, but this article left me a little lacking. But it sounds like something, you were talking about DraftKings earlier. I might take Grazer this time next year just to see if she can keep it running. All right, what else we got? What else we got here? This happened up in Canada. Passengers were stuck for a half an hour, 75 feet up in the air, upside down. And I cannot tell you how big of a fan I am of roller coasters and all of these rides, but I feel like I have seen so many more of these come out.
Yeah.
It makes me not want to ride roller coasters. Not as much anymore.
I took my kids to a carnival last weekend. It was an Oktoberfest, and I get a little motion sickness, so I'm not into any of these things at all. But like my 8-year-old daughter wanted to go on the thing that spun like crazy, and I was just, I don't get it. Like what?
Yeah.
Spinning ones get me. Like I can do ups and downs, roller coasters, but if they spin, no thanks. I'm already getting sick just thinking about it.
You pay the money for this feeling. What is going on here?
And I was gonna say, I mean, Morgan put it in the chat here. Final Destination. I feel like we've all been or at least know of that movie, right? Once you've seen a movie like that, even on talking about trucking, I do not drive behind semi trucks that have logs on them. I'm going around every single time. I've seen how this movie plays out, so I'm not a fan of that. But yes, I could not imagine being stuck upside down for 30 minutes, 75 feet up in the air. What else we got? Missouri man sets a new record for a 38-mile river journey in a 1,200-pound pumpkin boat. Now, when we saw this, my immediate thought is that Missouri men are trying to give Florida men a run for their money in terms of some of these ridiculous articles. But first of all, how do you even grow a 1,200-pound pumpkin? Didn't even know that was possible. And then just deciding that you want to float down a river in it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's a whole different
I wonder
level.
what my thing is. What was the previous?
Yeah, what was the record before?
And then what was the bigger pumpkin? What is he beating? The mileage journey or the pound of pumpkin?
Maybe he's just the first of his kind. There wasn't any record to actually be beat. He's just like, I mean, could you imagine just sitting there on a Thursday or Friday, like, I'm going to go, float 38 miles. And
we'll get that pumpkin I have been growing back there for the last 6 months, and I'm going to river.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but I could have gone 42 miles on this.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, first we need to get the 1,200-pound pumpkin, then we're going to stick you in and have down there. Talk about a great show that we could have with that live streaming. Oh, man.
Like that.
All right, I think we've got one or two more of these, and then we'll go ahead and sneak out of here for the weekend. The last thing that we have now, this, I don't know if any of you saw, happened in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, Colorado.
Train, right? Off a train.
Colorado has a lot of people talking. It has some people asking, is that Bigfoot? A couple behind the camera said they saw something moving on the hillside. You can see large, lumbering, whatever it is. Walking, then crouching in the brush before blending in. The footage is grainy because, of course, it is, but it has been viewed thousands of times online. The local forestry department says they're aware of the video, but don't have an answer.
The mystery continues.
The mystery does continue.
It's not a mystery. It's Coleman dressing up as Bigfoot for
clout. So I was going to say, now
there's no mystery on this.
We either know one of the two things that I'm going to be doing this weekend. It's either going to be out there finding it, or it's really going to be me that's just, prancing around there. Now,
when the news headline, there's like, hey, there's a creepy clown walking down the street. And then like all these people dressed up as creepy clowns, right? For a while. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, now I have to ask, do you all believe in Bigfoot? Is it a myth? Is it true? What is it?
I'm impartial. Be cool, but I'm not going to go out and search for him. My brother-in-law is a huge squatcher, like fan of squatching. So it's like, if there's one out here, I guarantee it's in the Oregon, Idaho, Colorado, Montana country.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
There could be multiple, right? It could be just a species that's out there as opposed to one different thing. But I do know that this train that this was on, it does go through a pretty remote area. So somebody must have really wanted to actually fool a bunch of people, right? Like getting up in a costume, hiking up in the mountains and all that stuff. So
someone who likes hiking. That's weird. Yeah.
Sounds like a typical Colorado person.
Yeah.
But yes, that is all that we have for this week's show. Thank you all. Thank you both, obviously, for being here and helping me make sure I don't have to talk to myself for a full hour. But thank you all that were watching, and we're excited for next week's show already. So that will wrap for today's episode of Word on the Street, episode 178. Have a great weekend.
Greg Rogers, where Greg Roberts, where you been, brother?
Yeah, Greg, get the heck back in here. We need to get some of the old crew back in. And then remember what you can do with the new Mac iOS update if you haven't done that.
Whoa, man.
I know, right? Having a little bit too much. Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We're going to start kicking you out here.